Hello, I'm Malcolm. Welcome to edition 1945 of the Enfield Talking Newspaper. With me on the reading team for Thursday, 13th of March 2014 are Elizabeth, Katherine and Audrey, with Dave on the controls. And the items we'll be reading are the copyright of our local newspapers, the Enfield Gazette and Advertiser, the Enfield Independent. This week's local stories include Tory aide quits after litany of sexist remarks, Mini Holland's success met with mixed reaction, now he's retired, John is saving sanctuary animals, and equality for women is progress for all. But before we go to the papers, we've got one or two reminders and special announcements. Elizabeth, you've got something about a drop-in on March the 20th.
Yes, that's right. Please don't forget that Enfield Vision and Enfield Association for the Blind will be holding their monthly drop-in on Thursday the 20th of March at the Park Avenue Disability Centre from 10:30am to 12:30pm. So I really hope that you'll be able to go along.
Katherine, what's happening in April?
Well, funny you should ask, Malcolm, because absolutely nothing's happening in April. There is no meeting of the Enfield Vision Forum on the 7th of April, and again, no meeting on the 5th of May, this time because it's a bank holiday.
Audrey, you've got a reminder for us.
Yes. I'm sure you know by now that you have a listener's representative, Diane de Jersey, who will be happy to help you with any problems or concerns you have about your talking newspaper. You can call Diane on 020 8805 6578. That's 020 8805 6578. Over to you, Malcolm.
Thanks, Audrey. Now, here's Elizabeth with the first news item.
The Enfield Southgate Conservatives have found themselves mired in controversy again after it was revealed their election agent wrote a litany of misogynistic comments on Facebook, including one which said that quite a few feminists need a good slap round the face. On Saturday, which was International Women's Day, Stuart Green resigned as election agent for the Enfield Southgate Conservatives and parliamentary assistant to Mr David Barrows after the Advertiser revealed a series of posts on the social media site in which he railed against women's desire for equality. In a post published on February the 16th, Mr Green wrote that he was sick to the back teeth of those wretched women MPs who seem to be constantly going on about there not being enough women in frontline politics. He went on to add that the whinging is a covering up for lack of political ability and depth of knowledge of how our political system works. And in August last year, Mr Green stated, "I am absolutely sick and tired of this feminism nonsense. It really has gone too far. Quite a few of these women need a good slap round the face." On Sunday, Mr Barrows described his former aide's comments as appalling and totally unacceptable and inexcusable.
Mixed reactions have greeted the announcement that Enfield will be given up to £30 million as part of a major cycling improvement scheme in the borough. Enfield Borough Council successfully bid for the money as part of the Mayor of London's £100 million Mini Holland initiative, which aims to encourage more people to get on their bikes in the capital. As part of their bid, the authority proposed to make cycling safer and more attractive for residents by creating cycle tracks along the A1010 Hertford Road and the A105 Green Lanes, and changing traffic routing in Enfield Town to create a cycle hub. They also plan to redesign Edmonton Green Roundabout so that bicycles and motor vehicles are kept separate, introduce cycle routes on less busy roads, and areas for commuters to store their bikes securely. Adrian Lachlan, a Southgate Cycling Club member and borough coordinator for the London Cycling Campaign in Enfield, is championing the scheme. Speaking to the Enfield Independent, he said, "I think this is brilliant news for Enfield. I hope it will encourage more non-cyclists to take to the road, as well as those of us who are regular cyclists. The biggest problem is the fear of being knocked over, but to have more segregated cycling routes will hopefully help eliminate this." Mr Lachlan also believes the scheme will encourage Enfield residents to get fit and live a healthier lifestyle. He said, "It would be great for people's health. We have a major obesity problem in Enfield in certain areas. If we can encourage children to cycle to school, it would be brilliant for their future. It would also reduce traffic congestion if more people considered cycling short journeys up to 5 miles, which could take up to 20 minutes on a bike." Councillor Joanne Laban, a Conservative representative for Enfield Town Ward, agreed. She said, "We want to get more people on their bikes because it will get people out of their cars and help reduce congestion, cut competition for parking spaces, improve air quality and help people keep fit and healthy." But many shopkeepers and residents have spoken out against the plans, which could result in only buses and cyclists being allowed to use Church Street between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m, with Cecil Road becoming a two-way street as opposed to the current one-way system. Chris Patel, who has owned Gray's newsagents in Enfield Town High Street for the last 30 years, said, "A lot of shopkeepers in Church Street objected to the scheme because they were concerned about things like traffic, parking and delivery issues. I just hope it's not going to drive customers away from here. That's very concerning for me and my staff. I hope the council will address our concerns." Meanwhile, Vanessa Kadja, who lives in Cecil Road, has collected approximately 300 signatures on a petition against the Mini Holland scheme in Enfield. She said, "I'm really upset. I love cycling, but turning Cecil Road into a two-way street will be a disaster. It's a residential road in a conservation area that will be turned into a danger zone. The road is the main entry and exit route to the park where children play, so increasing the traffic flow around this area will be dangerous. The council will now carry out public consultations on their plans before implementing them." The London boroughs of Kingston and Waltham Forest were also successful and will share the £100 million pot with Enfield.
Injured and neglected animals are now receiving expert surgical care at an animal sanctuary in Trent Park. The Wildlife Rescue and Ambulance Service, run by Barry and June Smith, has added retired veterinary John Gladstone to the team. John has offered his services for free, and 2 of his recent cases have included a wood pigeon and a crow with air gun pellet wounds. "I've always been interested in wildlife," he said, "and I knew that the centre needed help, so I brought all my equipment here and I got started. It's been a great learning curve. I've had the chance to understand the animal's behaviour. John, aged 67, feels that every animal should be given a chance and deserves decent sanitary conditions. For this to be achieved, the group needs funds and support from the community. The more facilities you have, the more you can do," he said to the Advertiser. He emphasised that it was important to have separate rooms for housing and treating the animals. "Everything I do is in this one room and it's very difficult. I do the best I can." John has already dealt with many complex cases at the sanctuary, which is based in a shelter in Trent Park off Cockfosters Road, and one of his success stories has been Furnace, a hedgehog, which was brought in after being severely burnt by firecrackers. Oh dear. Since then, it has been treated with 7 anaesthetics and intensive skin care. John, who works alone, is appealing for veterinary nurses to come forward to volunteer at the small clinic 2 to 3 mornings a week. He added, "We don't rehabilitate the animals to be caged, but to release them back into their habitats, and that's a great thing. What a wonderful volunteer to find." Thank you. Over to Malcolm.
Young girls in the borough used inspirational artwork to voice their views on International Women's Day. The event at the Dugdale Centre in London Road, Enfield, brought together close to 60 people to celebrate the year's theme of inspiring change, with the children's posters promoting messages including "Without women, there would be no more children," and "I can make my own decisions." International Women's Day is recognised globally on March the 8th and was introduced in 1911. It celebrates the social, political and economic achievements of women while focusing world attention on areas requiring further action. Enfield Lock Councillor Christine Hamilton, who chaired the event, stressed the need for women to challenge the status quo and said equality for women is progress for all. In addressing the group, she highlighted the prospect of a bright, equal, safe and rewarding future for women and girls, one which she views as pivoting on more role models and prioritisation of community safety and domestic violence issues. At a separate event, Edmonton MP Andy Love met a group of mothers who spoke out about juggling work, raising a family and making ends meet. A major topic was the cost of childcare, with many women admitting they cannot afford to pay for childcare if they want to go back to work. Mr. Love said it was humbling to hear how local mums are trying to balance looking after their children whilst trying to make ends meet, fitting paid work in around informal childcare from grandparents or friends, or in the limited hours offered under free provision. It's clear that high childcare costs, which are rising at alarming rates in London, are preventing many parents in Edmonton and Enfield from going back to work. Increasing the free childcare provision from 15 to 25 hours would be a good start.
Squatters have moved into a landmark building, scuppering a charity's plans to build a community centre on the site. The Tin Tabernacle, in Herbert Road, beside Bowes Park Station, is a distinctive corrugated iron Quaker-style hall that was built in 1848 as a temporary church for railway workers. It has been owned by the Samaritans since the 1970s, but gradually fell into disrepair over 3 decades until it was eventually deemed unsafe for human habitation. Last year, the charity announced that it would be submitting a planning application and launching a fundraising campaign to transform the hall into a working community space once again. Although the charity has since gained planning permission for the renovation, the arrival of squatters has left the project in limbo. A spokesman for the Samaritans told the Advertiser that solicitors had been instructed to instigate legal action against the squatters. He added, North London Samaritans have been granted planning permission for the building, which will, in due course, be converted into a community space to include the charity's activities. As of Monday, armchairs and plastic seats could be seen outside the building, and a new padlock had been placed over the gate, effectively barring entry to the site. Herbert Road resident Andy Pratt admits it is frustrating that the plans for the redevelopment have effectively been frozen. I think it's upsetting and it's a shame, he told the Advertiser. The Samaritans had worked up a plan that everyone was pretty happy with, and now that seems to be on hold. He admitted that the current state of the property market in London might have forced the squatters into the ramshackle building, and added, they must be pretty desperate. I wouldn't want to live there, but people need somewhere to live. What a decent bloke.
The Cat Hill protesters have refused to admit defeat and are now launching a legal bid to stop developers from chopping down ancient trees at the site. The leader of the protest group, Kim Coleman, has said that the band of campaigners will now be seeking to take out an emergency injunction at the High Court to stop the developing company, L&Q Housing, from felling any more trees on the site. The developers received planning permission in 2013 to build a 231-home estate on the site of the former Middlesex University campus in Cat Hill, Cockfosters, on the border of Enfield and Barnet. But residents near the planned estate have always maintained that the site is too ecologically important to hand over to property developers. And the last few weeks have seen a band of determined protesters blockade the site entrance, barring lorries from entering. L&Q Housing insists it has maintained strict eco-friendly procedures throughout, and a spokeswoman told the Advertiser, our specialist tree experts and ecologists continue to communicate closely with the Council and Natural England following the detailed planning permission granted by Enfield Council last year. Our aim is to create a site that will offer improved and more diverse habitat to support wildlife and biodiversity. This work will see us introducing more native planting onto the site and adopting an active 25-year tree management programme. Ms Coleman said the campaign group had also submitted a formal complaint to the Met Police because the decision to change the land use from educational to housing was taken at a closed council meeting that was never open to public consultation. A spokesman from Enfield Council said the decision was taken at an open planning committee meeting held at Ashmold School in front of 400 people, and a full consultation was carried out.
3 talented young kickboxers have been invited to train with Team GB. Fash Ostawar, chief instructor and fitness guru at the Supreme Kickboxing Club in Stockingswater Lane, Brimsdown, said it was timely recognition for the students who have fought in many competitions and been praised for their achievements. Assistant coach Claudia, age 16, was a winner at the World Association of Kickboxing Organisations Championships last month. Ostawar said she displayed great skill in her area of full contact fighting. She can proceed to become K1 champion with the opportunity to train with Team GB. Following in Claudia's footsteps are students Lacey Lee Hare, 13, and Neely Zacharias, 10, who came second and third respectively in their categories at the same championships. The trio started training with Team GB in Birmingham last weekend. Ostawar said, "This opportunity means a lot. Everyone who competed from our team showed great skill, which means we're doing something right. This puts us on the map really, and now everyone knows who we are." Before their first training session, Evie's mum, Egli Zacharias, 36, said her daughter was very excited about the chance. She said she's shocked, stunned that she's got this chance, and hopes that she will learn new techniques and have a chance of getting further, since she will be travelling and gaining experience. Lacey added, "I'm excited too. It's a rare opportunity, and I hope it will give me courage to take part in more competitions. My parents have encouraged me and are excited for me." The young students will be travelling across the globe with Team GB and getting the opportunity to compete against the best. Ostawar added, "They will all travel to Africa and Asia, around the world advancing their skills. This is the best route for them and a great success for us all."
A unique charity that offers help for parents who are victims of abuse from their children is looking to extend help to other families within the borough. Set up in February 2012, the Parent Abuse and Reconciliation Service, PARS, held an awareness event at its office in Riverfront, Enfield, for some of its 58 users and organisations it works with. Edmonton MP Andy Love was also present, as many of the charity's volunteers were recognised for the 16 to 17-hour days they work within parent support, anger management, family mediation and other areas. According to project manager Joe Lettieri, such a service provision did not exist before PARS was launched. He said, "We found as school practitioners that there wasn't any support for parents who were being abused by their children. It wasn't something that met the threshold of social services, and the police would often come to the home and talk to the child, but often when they went away, the abuse would continue." Mr. Lettieri also shared the experiences of parents who are reluctant to criminalise their children, but yet are desperate to obtain support, despite some being attacked with knives. The Metropolitan Police recorded close to 2,000 cases of adolescents violently assaulting a parent or carer in London between 2009 and 2010. PARS currently receives at least one referral per week in Enfield alone. Yet only 5 organisations deal with parent-adolescent abuse across the whole of the capital, according to Mr. Lettieri. At least 85% of the charity's clients have experienced domestic violence, with the adolescent replicating the behaviour of the perpetrator. Furthermore, 90% of clients are single mothers, and Mr. Lettieri says that less than cordial breakup can sometimes contribute to the problem. Cases of parent abuse occur irrespective of postcodes, with incidents recorded within Edmonton, Winchmore Hill, and other areas within the borough. The most common age group being referred to pass is 12 to 14 years, with issues such as exam stress and a lack of understanding from parents being cited by teenagers. In the most severe cases, adolescents have been diagnosed with mental health problems and have self-harmed. The charity is also unique as it provides an ongoing support service. Mr. Lettieri said, "We don't go in for 6 weeks. We could be with a family for 6 months or a year. By that time, the young person will want to know that you want to help, so you build up that trust and confidence with them." Founder and direct parent support advisor Ace Adil is hopeful that the service can be extended to preventative work with children aged 5 and older. She said, "There are lots of services for 0 to 5, but there's a gap between 5 and 10.
Children at a school in Winchmore Hill have a new set of wheels to drive around in. The keys to a 17-seater minibus, which cost £31,000, were handed over to Highland School in World's End Lane on Friday, following a donation from Enfield Borough Council's Enfield Residents Priority Fund. It brings to an end the prospect of uncertain journeys for pupils, with one of their older minibuses constantly breaking down. Previously, replacement minibuses were hired to cover these necessary trips. The new vehicle can also accommodate people with disabilities. Head teacher Bruce Goddard said the beauty of this minibus is that it's publicly funded and it'll be used for the benefit of a wide variety of people within the local community. The opportunity to use the minibus has already been seized upon by members of the Ruth Winston Centre. Chris Rash, the Centre's chairman of trustees, said some of its 1,000 members continue to feel isolated and are in need of transportation to luncheon clubs and other social events. Mr. Rash said he hoped that those people could be picked up by the new minibus over the next few months, with plans to use it during the weekends and outside of term time as well. Councillor John Kay, who represents Highland Ward, also suggested that youth clubs could benefit from the use of the bus. Jane Poole, chairman of the Highlands Parents and Friends Association, said donations like this from the council were the result of the commitment of parents and the committee, though she said sustaining the current level of funding requires a great deal of effort. This Saturday, the HPFA will host a comedy night at the school, one of the 3 major fundraising events held during the course of the year.
More than 100 campaigners marched through Enfield town on Saturday in protest against the closure of Chase Farm Hospital's Accident and Emergency Department. The North East London Council of Action organised the protest against the downgrade at the hospital in the Ridgeway, Enfield, which closed its A&E on December 9th last year. Members of the crowd shouted, "Reopen the A&E, no more tragedy," as they marched from the War Memorial on Windmill Hill in Enfield through the town centre and towards Chase Farm Hospital. The protest march followed the state of emergency that was declared at Barnet Hospital last month. Protester Billy Colville said, "I think the situation is really serious. The government is closing A&Es all over the country. This is our health service, and we have to protect it. I grew up in a country that had good facilities everywhere. I think we should always have that." Vivian Dalling of Enfield asked how elderly people who did not drive could get to the new unit at Barnet. She said, "I have been campaigning against the closure of Chase Farm A&E for the last 10 years. I've been to public meetings and demonstrations, and I believe it's not over until it's over, and this is not the end." Georgina Kyriakou of Enfield, who watched the protest, said she supported the marchers because she was forced to go to Barnet Hospital for treatment after she broke her leg. She said, "I absolutely support the march because there is no justification for closing down our A&E. The people of this area use that service a lot, and we want it back."
Absolutely. Motown is coming to Enfield Town, fresh and ready to take you back to the 1960s with a collection of originals as well as adapted covers. With inspiration from Nina Simone Smokey Robinson and Etta James, Enfield's own Maria Evangelou will be performing her music on Friday from 8 p.m. at the Dugdale Centre in London Road. My music attacks people from... I think that should say tracks. My music attracts people from different age groups and different backgrounds because you can turn or sing along to the classics. She said, we have a 6-piece band including keys, guitar, bass, drums and backup singers. So we're going to rock it. It's going to be loud. As well as her performance at the Dugdale, the singer has a busy schedule and will perform a set of acoustic jazz at Forty Hall in Forty Hill, Enfield, next Tuesday, before returning to the borough for the Spellbound Festival in Edmonton this July. She said, I love performing at home. The borough has lifted me up and given me drive to keep writing songs and performing. The support from the community has been unbelievable. It's a lovely feeling knowing that you have people who appreciate what you're doing, and I'm really proud. The upcoming singer-songwriter of Furs Lane, Palmer's Green, was born and raised in the borough and went to St Anne's Catholic High School in Oakthorpe Road, Palmer's Green. She currently teaches music at schools including Bush Hill Park and Highlands Primary in Winchmore Hill. It's great, she added. The kids at my school have noticed the publicity I've been getting and have been really encouraging. Tickets cost £13 and the box office is on 020 8807 6680. That's 020 8807 6680.
Generous Easter bunnies are being asked to donate chocolate eggs for children, a children's charity Eggstravaganza event next month. This year's appeal for Noah's Ark Children's Hospice has been launched, and it's hoped donations will mean that every child supported by the charity will receive an egg for Easter. Noah's Ark looks after around 900 children with life-limiting conditions and their families in North London and South Hertfordshire. The Easter eggs will be used by Noah's Ark at its Easter Extravaganza event at Capel Manor Gardens in Bullsmore Lane, Enfield, which this year has been extended to 2 days of fun on April the 18th and 19th. The egg appeal was launched at Asda Superstore in Chase Side, Southgate, on Thursday with a surprise visit from Baxter Bear. The bear, who has given his backing to many charities, has been a regular supporter of Noah's Ark. On Thursday, he posed for photographs with shoppers and greeted passers-by. Voted as the #1 Easter celebration by the Independent newspaper last year, the Capel Manor Extravaganza regularly attracts more than 1,500 people. Talon Usil, the charity's community fundraising assistant, said, "When we first started running the event, we had no idea how successful and popular it would become. We couldn't have done it without the support of our amazing volunteers and groups like Edmonton Rotary Club and Skewball Theatre." She added, "This year we're calling on more community groups and businesses to get involved by inviting them to take a stall at the event or run an activity." The deadline to donate Easter eggs, which can be taken to the Noah's Ark Appeal Office, any Noah's Ark charity shops or businesses involved, is April the 11th. For the location of venues, you can get somebody to check it on the internet for you or do it yourself. It's visit Noah's Ark Hospice, that's all one word, .org.uk. That's Noah's Ark Hospice, all one word, .org.uk.